Hey y'all, it's the first day of 2026. Happy New Year. To wrap up 2025, I didn't want to go into a greatest hits reel of breaches or a list of predictions that won't age well, because 2025 wasn't defined by one big moment in cybersecurity. It was defined by a series of realizations. Realizations about how attackers actually got in, about how fragile some of our systems really are, about how much trust we place in vendors, platforms, and processes we don't fully control, and about how careers and credibility shifted under our feet at the same time. I've surfaced some articles that helped explain some of the things a lot of people felt this year. As always, the links to the articles I reference are in the description. Let's start where most of the real damage started in 2025, identity. If there's one technical theme that quietly defined 2025, it's this. Attackers didn't need to break in anymore, they just logged in. There's a strong article from the SANS Institute titled Identity-Based Attacks, the Evolution of Social Engineering to Zero Trust Attack Vectors. And what it does really well is connect the dots a lot of teams felt this year, but maybe didn't articulate. The core point is simple. Identity-based attacks didn't replace traditional attacks in 2025. They absorbed them. Social engineering, phishing, MFA fatigue, token theft. All of it increasingly funnels to identity as the path of least resistance. Even in environments built on zero trust, identity became the control plane attackers focused on abusing. And that's the uncomfortable part. Zero trust didn't fail, but it didn't magically save us either. Because when identity is compromised, attackers don't need malware or exploits. They inherit trust. This article matters because it reframes 2025 as a year where access mattered more than payloads, and persuasion mattered as much as exploitation. It explains why so many incidents felt less like technical failures and more like human and process failures. This sets the stage for everything else we'll talk about. Careers, trust, go-to-market, platforms, complexity. Because before any of that, 2025 reminded us of something fundamental in cybersecurity. If you lose control of identity, everything downstream becomes harder to defend. Full credit to the SANS Institute for this article. I also want to highlight a big picture take from Forbes, because this article does something important. It zooms out and asks a hard question. What actually failed this year? And the answer is uncomfortable. What broke in 2025 wasn't just security controls, it was trust in systems we assumed were stable, like identity infrastructure, cloud dependencies, vendor ecosystems, and the belief that modern automatically means secure. The article frames 2025 as a year where complexity finally caught up with us. More tools, more vendors, more automation, but also more places for things to quietly fail. This is a great anchor for the year because it reminds us that cybersecurity didn't lose because attackers got magically smarter. We lost ground because our environments became harder to reason about, harder to defend, and harder to explain. That theme, fragility hiding behind scale, shows up everywhere else this past year. Now, if you want a clean snapshot of what security teams actually wrestled with this year, Security Magazine published a solid trends piece. They highlighted 3 themes that kept repeating in 2025. First, AI moved from experimentation into production, and that's where the problem started. Not because AI is useless, but because deploying it introduced new risks and new governance questions most teams weren't prepared for. Second, ransomware didn't disappear. It just kept doing what ransomware does best, exposing weak assumptions. Backups that weren't tested, response plans that looked good on paper, dependencies that nobody fully mapped. And third, secure development is still unfinished business. Despite years of talking about shift left, vulnerabilities continue to originate upstream, long before security teams ever get involved. What makes this article useful isn't novelty, it's confirmation. Those weren't fringe issues in 2025. They were the steady drumbeat shaping day-to-day security work. One of the more interesting year-end pieces came from National CIO Review, because instead of tracking incidents, it tracked conversation. Their argument is simple. AI didn't just change tools in 2025, it changed how we talk about threats. Attackers started experimenting with adaptive technologies. Defenders started questioning whether legacy detection models still made sense. And suddenly, conversations shifted from how do we block everything to how do we keep up when behavior itself keeps changing. What stands out here is that the industry spent much of 2025 recalibrating expectations. AI didn't deliver instant security. It forced teams to rethink assumptions about signal, noise, and response speed. I'd also like to call out this LinkedIn year-in review article from Nightwing. It hits a theme that quietly defined 2025. You're only as secure as the vendors you trust. This piece reinforces something security leaders felt all year long. Your risk isn't confined to your environment anymore. It lives in SaaS providers, third-party integrations, MSPs, and platforms you don't directly control. 2025 made it painfully clear that supply chain risk is operational, and it's political, and it's hard to explain to boards who still want simple answers. Another big theme that defined 2025, especially for anyone on the business side of cybersecurity, was how much LinkedIn changed under our feet. Michelle J. Raymond published a sharp breakdown called The LinkedIn Plot Twist Impacting Your 2026 B2B Marketing Strategy. And her core point is simple. LinkedIn didn't break this year, it changed jobs. What most people felt as the algorithm acting weird was really a shift in what LinkedIn is optimizing for. It's no longer just a networking platform or a place to post content. It's becoming a discovery engine. That explains a lot of the frustration people felt. Reach dropped unpredictably, and while LinkedIn framed it as relevance over impressions, what actually started to matter were signals like saves, shares, and thoughtful engagement, not volume. Comments, in particular, quietly became a distribution channel. No spammy replies, but real contributions. For company pages especially, commenting became one of the only reliable ways to show up organically at all. Michelle also calls out something a lot of teams learned the hard way in 2025. Automation burned trust. Mass DMs, AI-written outreach, and templated engagement made social selling harder, not easier, especially with senior buyers like CISOs who are already drowning in noise. And finally, she addresses the video hype. LinkedIn promised video would be the hero format. For most teams, it wasn't. The takeaway wasn't never do video, but don't build your strategy around platform promises. Test what actually works. Her conclusion lands cleanly for 2026. The marketers who win won't be louder, they'll be clearer about who they're for, what they solve, and why someone should care. Especially when LinkedIn is now helping people find you before they know who you are. Full credit to Michelle J. Raymond for the article. If LinkedIn felt chaotic to you in 2025, this piece is one of the clearest explanations of what actually changed and why it matters going into 2026. Before we wrap, I want to share one of my biggest personal lessons from 2025. The importance of personal branding for the sake of your own career. The people who had more options in 2025 weren't necessarily louder, but they were clear about what they do, what they care about, and the problems they solve, in public, on repeat. This year continued to show us how unpredictable the job market can be. Teams shifted, budgets tightened, roles changed, and a lot of people realized that being good at your job isn't always good enough when the ground moves under you. I have personally lived this, and I have watched it play out for others across our industry. There's a Forbes article called 12 Personal Branding Actions to Take in 2026 to Grow Your Career. It's a helpful read, and when it gets right is the idea that personal brand is something you build before you need it. In cybersecurity, personal brand isn't about being an influencer. It's about being known for how you think, how you explain risk, how you approach trade-offs, and how you show up when things aren't clean or easy. Personal brand is a living value proposition. It goes beyond your experience and skills. It's your perspective, your judgment, and your reputation as someone others trust and value. I'll say this plainly because 2025 made it obvious. When an employer is choosing between two similarly skilled, similarly experienced candidates, the one with real influence, the one people recognize, trust, and vouch for, is the one who gets the job. And this isn't just valuable for you. It's valuable for your company and any company you'll work for in the future. People with credibility make organizations easier to trust. They carry influence into rooms marketing can't reach. And when people trust the individual, they're more willing to trust the company behind them. This is important enough that we're going to dig into it much more deeply in an upcoming episode. Because 2025 made one thing very clear to me. Personal brand is table stakes for career growth and resilience. When you step back and look at all of this together, a few themes keep repeating. Attackers didn't need new tricks, they needed access. Security programs didn't collapse overnight, they bent under complexity. AI didn't save us or doom us, it forced better questions. Vendor trust stopped being abstract and became operational. and careers stop feeling linear or guaranteed. What 2025 really exposed is that cybersecurity is less about single controls or single tools, and more about how systems, people, and incentives interact under pressure. That's true for identity, it's true for supply chains, it's true for go-to-market, it's true for careers. Going into 2026, the advantage won't be to the loudest teams, the most automated programs, or the flashiest platforms. It will belong to the people and organizations that are clear about what they're responsible for, honest about what they don't control, and intentional about how trust is built and maintained. Thanks for spending the year with me. We'll continue this conversation in 2026. For now, it's time to get back to business. Keep hacking your success.